Tampa Bay Times, and he's back with me here on the drive. Topper, happy Monday.
Happy Monday to you, TKras. I was very disappointed in you. I was really expected better of you. I thought you would be out here on Friday night, dirt off, blinding people with your lack of a tan, blocking their view with your height and large head. But I fully thought you'd be part of that tarps off production there. Plus, it was a free shirt, and usually that's what lures you.
Yeah, free stuff is usually what gets me for sure. If it's free, it's for me. And I was at the game. I was not at the tarps off area. Brett Phillips, boy. You sound like Eric Neander now.
You are big talker, but, go out there and show your stuff. Nope, not going to do it.
Well, you could show your stuff, too, while you're at it.
No, I'm all work here. I'm all work.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're all work, too. I see what you're doing over there, Marc Topkin. And at TampaBay.com, writing about this Rays team finally getting back to the Rays way of doing things over the weekend. And, Mark, they've got an interesting stretch. They just played a last-place team in the Angels. Their next 4 series are against last-place teams currently in the standings.
Yeah, you're talking about the Tigers, and they're going down to play the Marlins, and they come back and face the Boston Red Sox, and then they go out and play the Angels again, and then they do face that Dodgers team that seems to be pretty good after that. But, yeah, no doubt about it. I think we kind of pegged this. We may have talked about it on your show a week or two ago that they were headed toward a very favorable stretch. We've already seen the stat that's been out there that they have the easiest remaining schedule overall, and they're probably in the easiest stretch of that. It's at the point now where teams that are bad kind of know they're bad, and they're starting to be. There have been a ton of trades, speculation just about the Tigers in the last week or two, and that doesn't bode well for a team that was supposed to be good and is doing bad to kind of get it back together when they, people start kind of picking at them a little bit, like who's going to go, who's going to stay, what should they do? So, yeah, this is a prime opportunity for the Rays to stack a bunch more wins. And I think it was very important that they did not lose that series to the Angels. Even just the narrative coming out of that after getting swept by the Orioles would have been a bad vibe, I think. And, it's weird. Winning 2 out of 3 versus, winning 1 out of 3 is one game, but I think that makes a huge difference in how they were after the game yesterday, how they come in today, and how they come into this series kind of feeling like they're, quote-unquote, back on track.
They are at 36-20 in first place in the American League East on June the 1st, and you wrote about it at TampaBay.com. When the Rays are in first place on June the 1st, Mark, usually good things happen, and they're playing October baseball, are they not?
Yeah, all 4 times that it's happened, that has been the case, and we'll see. Obviously, the Yankees have shown the ability to play really good baseball earlier this season, and then the Rays kind of ran them down as they struggled. So I think this kind of has the feeling that neither one of those teams runs away with it. I mean, will the Rays be able to stay in it? Will the Yankees avoid injuries? Will they make whatever moves they have to make to stay in it? So I think it's going to be interesting, but I would expect both of them. And I don't think I would count out Toronto. I'm not sure Baltimore is going to be able to dig fully out, even though they're playing better. But I think Toronto, especially with as much as they've invested in this year's team, if they need to go make another move, I think they might be able to as well. So I don't think it's an easy pass, but I do think the Rays, by being where they are, we're more than 1/3 the way through the season now, and I think you can say this isn't just a good little start. This is a real possibility to have a real good season.
For sure. Marc Topkin, TampaBay.com, Rays Insider. He's at the Trop. He's with me here on the drive. Rays and the Tigers tonight with Griffin Jacks on the mound. So plenty. We got the good, the bad, and the ugly, Mark, as you know, coming up at the bottom of the hour. We saw plenty from all 3 with the Rays over the weekend. The really good is Jonathan Aranda. Big home run yesterday to get things going, and he had an incredible month of May, did he not?
He did, and we'll see. I think on the 3rd, the Player of the Month awards come out. It's voted on by a bunch of, I think, team officials, team people, and media people, I believe. But if not winning, he needs to certainly finish high in that, because you're not going to find too many players who've had a better month of May than Jonathan Aranda does. And I think what he does to help this team specifically, kind of the lefty balance to Yandy Diaz and Junior Caminero, and just the way, and Kevin Cash was talking about the other day, that he's kind of learned to fight off the pitches that he isn't going to be able to do damage with, flick them aside, take them, let them go, and then wait for the pitch that he knows he can do damage with. And we've really seen him and his numbers. I think I got to add it up still, but between last year and this year, he's played about a full season worth of games, and those numbers over that 162 or 163 games, whatever it is, are pretty remarkable.
They are, and right now he's hitting .290 with 11 homers. He's among the league leaders with 43 RBI. He appears to put himself, Mark, in the conversation to be an all-star once again for the second straight year. Another guy who's putting himself in that conversation is Shane McClanahan, who worked 5 innings yesterday, got his 6th win. His ERA is now 2.45, which is outstanding. Mark, this guy has been putting himself in a position to win 15 to 16 games potentially if he stays healthy and put himself in the All-Star game. I mean, he's the American League Comeback Player of the Year at this point.
I mean, at this point, he's a lot of things, right? I think you could extrapolate a lot out of what he's done to this point. And I think the key with Shane is, look, he grades himself on such a tough scale. He said it again yesterday that, he could have done some things better. And he's going to constantly say that. And he said that's part of what makes him good, right? And so, these guys all have something special. That's why they're playing, and you and I are sitting here babbling about them. And because they all do something or several things really special. In Shane's case, he holds himself to such a high standard. He drives himself to be better and better no matter what he does. And, yeah, being in the All-Star game, I'm sure that would be awesome for him. He talks a lot about what's most important to him is winning. He mentioned at one point earlier this year, do I win a Cy Young ever? Do I go back to the All-Star game ever? What he wants to do most is win with this team, and he's put them in that position to do that almost every time he started, right? I think just about every start except early on, he's put them in a position to win. So I think if he just keeps doing what he's doing, the one question with him just might be the endurance factor and, what's a reasonable workload? Can he stay on an every 5 or 6 day routine? Are they going to have to, back him off at some point just to make sure they don't push him too hard? Given, he hasn't pitched for 2.5 seasons, and you've got to keep that in mind too. And the last thing they want to do is create a situation where something goes wrong before they have an opportunity to just kind of, put the reins on him a little bit. And I don't know that they're how or when or if they're going to do that, but I do think that's something that's going to come up in the conversation.
It's interesting to point out he's thrown 55 innings so far at around the 1/3 point. Would the Rays push him past the 150 innings mark because he's on that pace?
Yeah, I think that's probably a big number as it is. Look at his career in the full seasons he's pitched, and I don't think he's gone much beyond that. So I think, they're going to have to, just be careful with him. Maybe we'll see. Remember last year they had Rasmussen went through that period of time around midseason where he was, held to 2 or 3 innings each time. And they've obviously got some guys that's stretching out of AAA to be starter capable, which also means bulk inning capable. Joe Boyle, Mason Englert, people like that. So Jesse Schultens, when he comes back off the IL, could be in that type of role. So I think they just, I'm not, all I'm saying is you can't just treat Shane McClanahan like it's a normal season. Yeah. You've got to somehow factor in that he missed, the last 2 full years and the last 2 months of the year before that.
It is absolutely worth noting, and we'll find out how the Rays treat him moving forward. He was 4-0 with an ERA of 1.41 in the month of May, so he had a big month of May. Jonathan Aranda had a big month of May as the Rays won 18 games. Who didn't have a good month of May was Chandler Simpson, who only had 245, and he got thrown out 5 times trying to steal only 3 stolen bases. So is the league catching up to Chandler Simpson? What do you think is happening with him?
I think it's probably a subjective way you want to phrase that. Is the league catching up to him, or is the league adjusting and he now needs to adjust back? And I'm not sure there's much difference there. It's a little semantical, but I don't think he's lost the ability to do what he's done. I think in talking to him about it and talking to Kevin Cash about it over the last couple of days, that you're seeing teams just be remarkably attentive to him. Pitchers that don't normally sidestep, that don't normally quicken their delivery. That throw over in different situations they typically throw over. You're seeing teams do a lot to take that away from him. But I also think it is inherent on Chandler to figure out how to get it going again, because obviously part of his value, part of what makes him such a key part of that lineup is the ability to steal bases, to be in motion, to have that head start to where he'll score from first on what's barely a double, those type of plays. are all part of this, and to also not let that get him down offensively. He hasn't been bunting as much either, it seems like, and
Right.
I saw him do that a little bit yesterday, I think, and maybe getting back to that too. But yeah, I mean, the teams can't keep. You wouldn't think they can keep him down. If they're doing different things, then he's got to figure out different ways, whether it's changing his lead pattern, changing his jump pattern, finding different ways to kind of force them into action. And what the hitters behind him do too may change that a little bit, because if there's a bunter behind him that's going to pinch the infielders in, maybe that creates a little bit more of a lane for him to steal too.
Marc Topkin, TampaBay.com, is with me here talking Rays baseball on the drive. Mark, we're 2 months away from the trade deadline. A lot of speculation out there. I was reading Jim Bowden this morning in The Athletic. He says that the Rays should be one of the teams in on Tarek Skubal, who's injured right now for the Tigers. I don't see a scenario where that is likely. Would they call? Probably, but what type of deals, and we're still a long ways away, do you think that the Rays will be involved in?
Yeah, I was just talking about that with John Romano. I think he's writing something on that in Wednesday's Tampa Bay Times, which will, I'm sure, be a great read. Yeah, I mean, I think you and I could have a conversation here, and I could make a case for 4 or 5 different things, and I think you could, make a case to agree or disagree, but I think they'll all be reasonable. Is you need a high-end starting pitcher. Do you need somebody else to just take that rotation from good to just extraordinary? And, knowing that Matz has had some up and downs and he's got some workload limits, knowing that Nick Martinez is going to have some workload limits coming from, not pitching full seasons as starters the last couple of years. We just talked about McClanahan. Is Rasmussen fully unbridled, or is he going to need to scale back a little? What are you going to be able to do with Griffin Jacks? He's just converted from a reliever to starter. He's, is he going to go 5 innings every time the rest of the year? So there's enough questions to the rotation where if you had an opportunity to add a high-end guy, sure, that could make sense. How about the bullpen? Uceta having a setback recently, Clevenger not pitching anywhere near like Garrett Clevenger has pitched in years past. Brian Baker's done a great job. Kevin Kelly's been great. But, is that enough? Do you want to go get another been there, done that, lockdown kind of reliever to add to that group? Offensively, we've seen the small ball work, right? And it's been entertaining and enjoyable, but you want to put another thumper in the middle of that lineup. I mean, Yandy's on pace for 30. He laughed the other day when somebody pointed it out to him. So I don't think he's planning to hit 30. Aranda's a 20-homer type guy. We know what Junior can do. He can get into the 40s, but you want to add another thumper. I've seen Yordan Alvarez's name from the Astros get thrown out a lot. Where's he going to play, though? He's
right.
a DH and a left fielder. You've got both those guys, and I don't think you're going to move Chandler to right because he's not the strongest arm in the group here. So I think you could make a case for almost any one of those 3 level, marquee level players. Joe Ryan is a pitcher. I'm sure we come up with some other hitters. There's going to be some relievers that are going to be available from teams that are out of it. But what's the right fit, and then what's the acquisition cost, and how does next year factor into this? There might not be a next year. Does that help? Does that hurt? And then whoever it is has to be talked about in WDAE. So what's that going to mean?
I know. It's probably going to mean, his career might be, dragged through the mud here. And I asked Eric Neander on Friday, Mark, about, hey, I'm sure you're keeping tabs on what's going on between the CBA talks. And I don't know if we're going to get a cap, Mark, but it kind of feels like a salary floor might be something that could very well happen. And that may force the Rays to adjust as well.
Yeah, I mean, if for whatever the initial proposals are worth, and I don't know how much they are worth, but both initial proposals included limits, right? The owners had a hard cap and a hard floor, and the players' union had kind of a soft floor in a redistribution of revenues to where either one would, if either one of those initial proposals was adopted, they would require the Rays to spend significantly more on payroll. Now, some of that's going to be from getting additional revenue funneled their way, from TV monies being pooled between the teams. So it may not be all out of pocket, but it would certainly change their dynamic, right? To stock a team for $85 million, $87 million opening day, which is where they were this year, and now be up into the 150s, 160s opening day. There's about 20 million or so of like what's called benefits in there. So even if like you saw 170, that's probably about a 145, 150. But even then, that would be, a significant increase for the Rays. And is that something that you gamble on now? We're not going to know. There's not going to be resolution in any form, even close, on the labor negotiations by the time of the trade deadline. So to me, that's one more thing that these baseball operation presidents and super smart front office people have to try to figure out is how do these moves play out if scenario A happens, scenario B happens, scenario C, et cetera, et cetera.
That's going to be really, really intriguing to watch. Okay, stadium stuff. Do we know anything? I saw Ken Hagan Thursday and Friday. He said that the Rays were going to have talks, I think, on Friday and leading into the weekend, maybe even into today. Do we have any word as to what's happening there?
No, it's all been quiet. And I guess you could, if you wanted to take the optimistic slant, as I know you often do because you're Mr. Sunshine, I think you could say that the fact that you haven't heard anything is probably a good sign that if they are having conversations, they're constructive enough to keep going. I mean, the Tampa City Council was pretty clearly out there with the fact that they didn't think it was worth having that meeting, that workshop last week, based on the comments that Ken Babby had made when I talked to him in New York, that the numbers were the numbers and they were not going to change or negotiate further on the financial elements of the deal. But Ken also said in that article that they knew they had a lot of work to do and there were a lot of things to talk about. So I think there are a number of points beyond from changing the specific numbers that can allow for financial compromise, just not changing these numbers, which would be the terms, the sources, things like that of the revenue streams and all of that factor. So I do think they have a lot more to talk about. I do think the Rays people remain hopeful and optimistic of getting this done. But, yeah, at some point there's going to have to be another meeting and another vote. And we've heard maybe July now, so pushing it past the deadlines that they mentioned. But I think the idea, if you want to play in 29 at that stadium, I think you probably have to be in the ground by around September 1st. And that's banking on weather, right? We know what rainy seasons look like around here, and obviously, God forbid, if we run into storms again too. So it'll be interesting to see how they have to navigate that, but I think they're ready for that challenge if they can get the go-ahead.
June 1st, today marks the beginning of a hurricane season, so we don't even want to think about that being a possibility, but yeah, all of that does factor in. He's Marc Topkin. He's at the Trop. You can read him, Tampa Bay Times, TampaBay.com. He's going to join Ronnie Lane on Beanball or whatever that show's called coming up at 5:30, and you got our guy Chris Mathis, you got him back too. He's married. He's back. He's back in the saddle.
The old married man now, right?
He sure is, boy.
He's going to be coming back after doing the dishes now and taking out the garbage and all that stuff.
Yeah, he's in for a world that he's not privy to yet, but he's going to learn the hard way. Mark, we'll talk to you later, my friend.
All right, sounds good. I'll enjoy it.
You got it. Marc Topkin. You can read him at Tampa